I guess we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Juliet Smith, and I'm an electronic services librarian in Indiana, down in Bloomington. And when John Mayer, a few months ago, sent out the email requesting proposals for this conference topics, I had suggested to him that someone should speak on Internet 2. Well, I guess I'm the someone. So take that advice. If you suggest a topic for CALI, you will often be recruited to be the speaker for that topic. I have basically been following the developments in Internet 2 for the past couple of years. You know, a big clipping file in my office. And when Indiana University was selected to be the host for the Abilene Project, even more information started to come my way. But I would say I'm by no means an expert on this subject, and probably at best have a rudimentary understanding of the technical aspects and issues of this project. So I hope that you in the audience that may have more technical expertise than me will chime in if we get any difficult questions. It's my hope today that to give you some basic information about Internet 2 and the Abilene Project, and also to kind of challenge you to think of ways that the law schools could use the Internet 2 technology and the applications that Internet 2 is hoping to develop. Perhaps some of you in the audience will even submit applications to Internet 2 for projects to be considered. I think in the program materials, many of the URLs that I'm going to flash up in the PowerPoint presentation are in those materials. These two are basically the main pages for Internet 2 information. The first one being Internet 2 project website, and the second one being the website for the University Corporation for Advanced Internet Development. That's the corporation that is developing Internet 2. Just some facts. Right now they're up to 150 university members. And Internet 2 is basically going to act as a testing ground for new technologies. With the current traffic on the Internet, new technologies can't sufficiently be tested and developed. So Internet 2 is aiming to create and sustain a leading-edge network for the national research community. They also hope to direct network efforts to enabling a new generation of applications that fully exploit the capabilities of a broadband network. Lastly, they're working to rapidly transfer these new network services and applications to all levels of educational use and to the broader Internet community, nationally and internationally. Some of the applications that Internet 2 is working to develop include telemedicine, digital libraries, virtual laboratories, and some other things that are not possible with the current Internet technology. The way to think about Internet 2 is it's not a single separate network. It's basically joining many of the member university networks and network engineering capabilities with some advanced campus and regional and national networks. Main thing I think is that Internet 2 wants to find smarter and more efficient ways to set the bandwidth intensive traffic over the network. Doesn't look too bad. Usually, this map is usually a little bit darker, but this gives you an idea of the universities that are involved in the project. This map's showing 130, but now, like I said, we're up to 150 university members. And why university members for Internet 2? Basically, universities have been the primary source for both the demand for advanced network technology and the talent that is needed to implement that technology. University research and missions and education missions increasingly require the collaboration of personnel and hardware that is located at campuses throughout the country. These are the kinds of tasks that are not possible on today's Internet, and which need the kinds of technologies that Internet 2 is seeking to create. At the same time, the level of computer networking expertise at Internet 2 member universities is unsurpassed. universities have had a long history of developing advanced research networks and putting them to work. The combination of needs and resources makes universities the perfect setting for developing this next generation of internet capabilities. But the universities could not do it without their corporate partners. And as you can see, this is kind of a who's list of telecommunications and technology companies. So far, these corporate members have already committed over $30 million to the Internet Project. Microsoft has been the most recent to join the project, and this is viewed as the way to deliver Internet to the desktop of every American. That Microsoft will bring in some of the middleware capabilities that are necessary for average Americans to take advantage of the Internet 2 capabilities. The view is, in the business world, that if e-commerce is really to become a global reality, it's going to need a constantly available network, a high-speed, reliable network, around the clock, available for business, and that's what Internet 2 is hoped to do for the corporate partners. So some of the aims and goals that you read on the Internet 2 website that talk about doing everything for the research community, temper that with the fact that these corporate partners are involved and somehow this project is going to make some money. Technical capabilities. In a way, it's hard for me to imagine what 1,600 times faster than the T1 line is, what that means at the desktop. But that's what Internet 2 is going to deliver. The Abilene Project right now is operating at 2.4 with the hopes of moving to 9.6, which just seems incredible. Internet 2 also often gets talked about in the same realm as NGI, the Next Generation Internet. Next Generation Internet is the government's kind of complementary effort to Internet 2. Internet 2 and NGI work together on some projects, and many of the member universities for Internet 2 have received grant money from the NSF and Next Generation Internet to develop some of these applications. So there is some overlay, but Internet 2 being a corporation will probably exploit more of the commercial value of the technology than the government project. So what kind of technologies are we talking about? First thing, IPv6. That's Internet Protocol version 6, the next generation. It's currently in the Internet Engineering Task Force Standards Committee review. Current version of Internet Protocol is version 4, and it was never really intended to work with the Internet that we have today, especially in terms of the number of hosts, the types of applications, and the security concerns. So IPv6 is something Internet 2 is working on testing through their network. It's a little bit less of a priority because there have been some enhancements to the current IP version 4, and the current enhancements have addressed some of the speed and service quality concerns. Multicasting. This is a bandwidth conserving technology that reduces traffic by simultaneously delivering a single stream of information to thousands of corporate recipients in homes. The applications that take advantage of multicast include video conferencing, corporate communications, distance learning, and the distribution of software, stock quotes, and news. Quality of service. Currently, IP treats all data packets equally, and quality of service would allow companies and universities to designate certain IP packets as high priority, allowing these packets to arrive at their destinations ahead of less urgent data packets. This would really make video conferencing possible, full-screen distance learning applications possible. Applications where real-time and time dependency is important. You need quality of service. Probably quality of service will be something that you pay for. Pay to have your packets high priority. The part of Internet 2 that's working on quality of service is called Cubone. And specifically right now, they're looking at the DiffServ architecture that the Internet Engineering Task Force has put forward. Now, DiffServ, I just vaguely understand this, and I'll tell you how they define DiffServ architecture. It's an interoperable design based on a cloud by cloud rather than hop by hop quality of service. Standardizes the per hop forwarding behaviors rather than the specific services and queuing disciplines. So that's all they're saying right now about DiffServ. I haven't seen any of the specs or anything from Internet Engineering Task Force. So if anybody out there knows anything more, please chime in. Okay, so these are the technologies, but what kind of applications will these technologies spur? First one is teleimmersion. And teleimmersion is combining like the cave-style technology that's currently on the internet, the moos and the muds. And you combine that with high-speed telecommunication systems, and you extend that cave technology so that you can see the presence and the movement of other individuals within your cave, and you can track the presence and movement. And basically, all that means is that several people all across the country can participate in a virtual environment, and you can share and manipulate the same data, go through simulations and models, and jointly participate in those simulations, just as if you were in the same room. This kind of application requires a lot of bandwidth, low latency, and it's time dependent. Okay, so not possible with current internet. Second, digital libraries, and really what they mean with digital library projects is delivering unique collections that are within your library, and especially collections that involve audio and video. Making your video and audio resources available for the broader community. Instead of having people come to visit your library, they can just dial in through the network to get your information. Digital video services, this is to support scalable and easy-to-use applications that deliver live or stored streaming and interactive high-quality video. Also, they want to gather, store, and establish some kind of means to license and distribute content for courses, lectures, documentaries, video conferencing among the Internet 2 members. Deliver and develop archives and search capabilities for video libraries. Right now, Virginia Tech, just within the last month, has opened a video conferencing studio to demonstrate some of the Internet 2 capabilities. And at the opening, they demonstrated the video and the voice, and it looked just like television. We're not talking about video that you see now as real audio that's a postage stamp on your screen, that's jerky, that has all of the time delays. We're talking about television-like quality over the internet. The state of Virginia has invested in this studio because they're hoping to foster entrepreneur activity in the state. So definitely the idea of making money. The Virginia Tech people say they're hoping to license out the studio to companies for like $200 an hour, which would be really cheap compared to satellite fees to do video conferencing. Last application, distributed storage infrastructure. The idea here is to resolve some of the accessibility issues that are involved with sharing and using internet-based educational content. You want to create an infrastructure and define a strategy for support of server channels for academia. Okay, internet content channels is what they're talking about here. What that means is that files can be replicated over multiple domains and multiple users, but you're only using a single URL to access the files. You have a resolver server that performs the task of deciding which server would be best to service the URL request. And some of these channels are already under construction. At Indiana University, our Variations Music Library project, the one several years ago was featured in the IBM commercial where the Italian man was getting his degree via distance education at IU. That's the Variations project, and that's set up as an internet content channel. Northwestern University has their digital video portal set up, and Texas A&M is delivering medical and GIS images through this distributed storage infrastructure. Okay, some more concrete examples of what all this means. First one, the Nano Manipulator. This is a virtual reality interface to a microscope that's located at the University of North Carolina. And this microscope allows scientists to see the surface of the material and also to feel it. We're talking 3D capability over the internet. The internet to researchers at the distance member universities could operate this microscope just as if they were there at University of North Carolina. This project requires the quality of service technology, low latency and low jitter. Otherwise, the application locks up and the microscope freezes. At the Internet 2, when they launched the Abilene Project a few months ago, they demonstrated this microscope, and they actually had high school students manipulate and use the microscope. Let's see if this pops up fast. So it is technology that is to educate all different levels of people, high schools, other colleges, other research assistant. Pictures aren't very good, but there's some great pictures on this website of what the microscope looks like, and slides of the presentation that they did at the ceremony. Okay, another application. This is at the University of Oklahoma, and this is to generate weather forecasts 6 hours in the future for an area of 3 kilometers with the hope of making the resolution to 1 kilometer. The National Weather Service right now, when it does its forecast, you're looking at a wider 30-kilometer resolution area. So why would you want this 1 kilometer? Well, airports. The smaller area would be very helpful to pinpoint forecasts for airports and airport landings. Oklahoma is partnered up with American Airlines at the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport Hub to work on this project. And another project, the Vanderbilt Television News Archive. Vanderbilt has 30,000 individual network evening news broadcasts and about 9,000 hours of special news-related programming that would be available over the internet. Internet 2 is facilitating the demand desktop delivery of near original quality video, just like if you're renting the video down at Blockbuster. Abilene Project, I've mentioned. Abilene is one part of the Internet 2 project. It is basically the backbone network for the project. It's Abilene because, like the railroad in Abilene, Kansas, it's on the frontier of network technology. That railroad was considered to be at the frontier of America in the 1860s. That's where the name comes from. At the ceremony where they unveiled Abilene, it was at Washington's Union Station, they demonstrated a remote surgery where doctors, different areas of the country participated in the surgery, all in real time. And basically it's been said that with Abilene, it is the difference between motion pictures and flipping through the pages of a book. The day it went live, 37 universities were connected. Major corporate partners for this project, Cisco, QS, and Nortel. And here's just the facts on the capabilities of Abilene. Now it's even connecting to European research networks. They're using access points in New York and Chicago. And these access points are VBNS, which is the Very High Performance Backbone Network Service that the Next Generation Internet Project, the government's project, is sponsoring. This just gives you an idea of the Abilene network, where it is. Indianapolis being the headquarters for the project, and then showing the various gigapops and the gigapops that are in process. Giving an idea of the kind of traffic that's running on Abilene right now. When I put this presentation together, this doesn't look too good. We were looking at about 2% traffic. Right now, what's in black is it's really less than 2%, and then the blue and the green, you're looking at 2 and up to 5% of the capabilities of the network. Okay, so right now there aren't applications that are fully taking advantage of what Abilene can do. All right, this site, this video space site, will allow you to see some of the demonstrations of these tools that I've been talking about. It's a site set up just to deliver the video content of the various demonstrations. So you could see the demonstration of the Nano Manipulator that was a few months ago. And they'll be adding demos as they roll out new applications with each of their meetings. Okay. So lastly, how does this affect all of us in law schools? I think a lot of law schools today are looking at distance education as a possibility, and currently I think distance education over the internet is a pretty risky proposition, to say the least. With Internet 2, video conferencing and distance education is much more reliable and possible. You're talking about real-time interaction. So I think Internet 2 is important for those of us considering distance education. Along with distance education, think about the continuing legal education programs that you offer at your school. Wouldn't it be great to deliver those all across the country? People don't have to fly into Bloomington to get the benefit of our CLE program. And of course you can charge a lot of money for this, so that's what law schools want to do, is generate some money with the distance education and video conferencing tools. Video conferencing over the internet with Internet 2 also will allow you organizations and associations to meet without having to be in the same room. So you can save some money there. Organizations may want to think about their boards meeting remote, through a video conferencing tool rather than paying to bring everybody in. I was talking with someone yesterday at dinner from Chicago Kent, and he mentioned another good idea for video conferencing over Internet 2, and that would be employer interviews. How hard is it sometimes to get employers to come to your law school to interview your students? You could do it video conferencing over the internet. How about interactive courtroom situations where students in a trial process or appellate advocacy program could actually view real trials, real time, and real communication with the lawyers participating in the project. Perhaps you could have mock courtroom situations with judges that are in a distance. I think about the rise of international law programs within law schools. Wouldn't it be great to have some international law judges sit on a mock courtroom panel? Digital libraries. Many of us may have unique collections of information, perhaps older legal materials in our rare book room that we could deliver through Internet 2. So those are just some ideas that I have. I think that Internet 2 is something that we should all be paying attention to, because while it will not replace the current Internet, it's going to have a huge impact on the current Internet and the kinds of applications that you can deliver. And certainly there's an opportunity now for those institutions that are already thinking about these kinds of projects to put in for grant applications to get the money to start doing it. Right now, the programs that have been proposed in Internet 2, there are none coming from the legal community. And I think certainly there are applications that we in the legal community could put forth for Internet 2. Anybody else have some ideas or questions? I'll try to answer them for you.
Juliet, for those of us who are building new buildings and worried about the technology infrastructure and what we're putting in, how would Internet 2 change what we decide to put in as far as technology infrastructure?
Yeah, it would depend on whether your university is going to be a gigapop or whether you'd have to go through one of the very high network band with the government. And I think that you would think about wanting to be able to connect to some kind of high-speed network either by joining as a gigapop or looking to be one of the very high backbone. Because what it'll be, I mean, your current internet will run the same way, but when you want to do these other things like distance education and video conferencing, you're not going to run it on the current internet, you're going to be running it through the high-speed networks. So you'll want to make sure that in your community or that you have access to the high speed. Perhaps one room in the law school could be considered like your video conferencing studio, much like what Virginia Tech is doing. That would be a good idea.
Who are the granting agencies you're referring to?
Well, Internet 2 gives out grants and money, the University Corporation. The National Science Foundation is also giving out grants under the Next Generation Internet. And there's some other government entities that you can get grants for this project as well. But Internet 2 gives out grant money as well. Yeah.
If you're going to use it for CLE education, where do the attorneys go in the other parts of the country to access it? Can they do it on their desktop?
That's the idea of middleware, yeah, to try to make the high-speed network come down to the desktop level. At this point right now, if you wanted to do it now, that middleware is not in place to deliver to the desktop. So you would be looking at remote people going to a special site where there's a gigapop, like Chicago, New York, the big cities. You'd be able to attract your attorneys in that area to come to a specific studio to be able to take advantage of the CLE. Any other questions? Yeah.
Julie, could you just explain a little bit? I guess I lost it a little bit when we were talking about the distributed storage infrastructure. I didn't understand how that was different from digital libraries.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Yeah. The idea with the distributed storage infrastructure is that you're going to have content-based channels on the internet. So channels for music, art, movies that are going to deliver all sorts of files to one URL. The files are going to reside on different servers across the country, and when you put in the URL, there'll be a resolver that chooses, okay, you're closest to this server, so we're going to give you the files from this server. So it's a way to not have to send same files multiple times from multiple locations. It's kind of a centralized storage and delivery system.
That are also subject specific.
That are subject specific. The Digital Library Project is more about delivering unique collections from one location. Okay, Vanderbilt's News Archive, delivering that out rather than a channel. Yeah.
I just want to note that the University Business Magazine comes out once a month. The February edition has an interesting article.
Great, yeah. What I do is I just have a clipping service on Westlaw and Lexis to track articles that pop up on this subject. The most recent thing that's come out just in the last week on Internet 2 was an article that really talked about how Internet 2 has put forth all these grandiose research. We're going to be the research network, but really that they're out to make money. And it makes sense. They have to be. If corporate partners are putting $30 million into the project, they're not doing it just so that us researchers have high-speed networks. They're doing it so that they can make money off corporations later. Yeah.
Can you explain the middleware in a little bit more detail? Will there be degradation of the quality if you're moving on the high-speed network down to desktops?
Right. Well, the goal is not to have that degradation of quality. Basically, middleware is kind of the bridge software between the high-speed networks and the applications that are developed for the high-speed networks. And so that kind of, the middleware is going to come last in the progression of advance. As the woman said yesterday at the plenary, that's what nobody wants to do is the middleware. But I think Internet 2 is now hoping that since Microsoft has stepped in as a partner, that they're going to take the lead in developing that middleware so that we can take advantage of Internet 2. Yeah, it's not much of an explanation, but it's kind of unclear really at this point what middleware will do because the technology applications are just being developed. So once those are developed, then they'll figure out how they're going to deliver them down.
Many of the ideas you put forth as possibilities for law schools could be applied to any graduate school of this thing. So are there other entities or organizations looking at those in a general way?
Looking at, generally video conferencing and...
Over Internet too, right. Is there any effort like that yet?
Yeah, there are efforts in that area, mostly in the scientific field rather than the business field. Having classes in biology and medicine and things delivered, video conferencing, that kind of thing is already in the works with Internet 2, but there hasn't been anything really in our field.
Will data come in off of Internet to traditional servers and then distributed within the institution to your browsers?
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a project where it's a high-speed network that's taking advantage of all the other networking capabilities and the current internet. So for delivery purposes, yeah, it's going to take advantage of all that optical wiring.
Do you have any information or statistics about how reliable the Internet is?
Well, Abilene's been running since February, and so far they haven't released any data really on downtimes. It's not operating at its full capacity yet, so I don't think there's been much downtime. You're looking at only about 2% or 5% use of the pipe capacity of Abilene. So far they haven't run into any problems, but I think those problems are going to come as they really test for pipe capacity. Yeah, that would be the site to really keep an eye on, is that traffic site. As traffic increases, you're going to see more problems that they're going to work, that's what they're the testing bed to work out those problems, how to resolve them. Other questions? Okay.
Yeah, what about the rest of the world? Europe?
Yeah, good question. The Internet 2 is making partnerships with some European research centers, but one of the articles that recently came out has a United Kingdom perspective on the whole thing, which was we don't care about Internet 2. That's that American project with their universities. All we care about are the kind of applications that are going to come out of the project. So I don't think that many European institutions are wanting to jump on board as member institutions with Internet 2, but that technology is something that they're going to be looking for. So it looks more like a wait-and-see approach. And, the next generation Internet, the government, the reason they're so into this is they want America to be the technology center of the world. So. Well, I know that CALI is having a conference, I guess, in a couple of weeks that will talk more about distance education and have some presentations on Internet 2. But I hope this was enough to give you a taste of the subject and be able to kind of talk to people back at your institution.